Give me a second, guys. Hi, everybody. Good morning. Good thing, since I'm in the bathroom, that's where I usually tend to do my best TAs and stuff. But someone requested that I do a TA on Solana, and I basically told them that usually what happens when it comes to alts is that, if Bitcoin is going up, usually, everything else is going up. If Bitcoin goes down, 99% of the time, everything goes down. But, and this is a big but, right? Sometimes you do have some crypto not necessarily follow what Bitcoin is doing, right? So what we're going to be doing here is I'm going to just go from scratch, and I'm going to start inputting all of our support and resistance. Again, I only really do this on the weekly chart. I don't put support and resistance anywhere else. I don't really like putting support and resistance anywhere else. It kind of clogs. What is it called? It clogs how you would say the scene, right? I don't like putting a bunch of support and resistance in the daily because it usually ends up making everything super like, I don't want to say convoluted, but it ends up putting too much strain on like the chart, right? So if you go on the daily, I guarantee you that all these support and resistance lines, they'd be like one here, right? You would have like 50 of them like in one chart, and you don't really need to do it that way. That's why I use the weekly, because it is major resistance or support if you use the weekly time frame, and that's why I stick to it, because generally it does follow this the support and resistance, right? It'll generally stay between these ranges and stuff for the most part. Actually, I'll delete this one just because it's a little bit on the high side. But for right now, this is kind of like a really quick way of doing support and resistance. If you want to learn how to do support and resistance perfectly, then you can actually join the Patreon. I'll drop the link in the description, and I'll also I'll pin it in the comments as well. For Solana, I am actually pretty bullish. This is one of those instances where I actually think that Solana is going to be going back to 133, which would probably take it. Well, this is like about a 30% run from here. From its current price, we are looking at a 28% increase, and I do think that it's actually going to 133. As it has broken this elongated trend back that started basically back in November, broke the trend, came back and retested, right? It's basically on perfect retest right now. It actually retested the chart or the trend at around $99. So you're really getting a really almost perfect entry, right? You're only $5 off of the touch trend. So usually what happens in these cases is you end up breaking the channel, right? So let's say your price is moving from here. Let's go from like that. You end up breaking the channel, right? Or breaking that trend. You come back and retest, which is exactly what happened here. And then you see another impulsive move to the upside, or usually the next weekly range or next weekly resistance, right? Which would take us up to 133. So for right now, again, the daily, still bullish. There's no reason for me to be bearish. The daily is bullish. The weekly is about to go bearish. Solana is probably not going to close this week bearish fully, right? It's probably going to close next week on the bear side. So we have to go with the daily chart and look at the momentum of what's going on here. But really, it's a very basic pattern that's happening with Solana right now. And like I said, usually what happens on this break of trend is you come back, you retest, and then you shoot to the upside, right? So what can happen here is essentially you're probably going to create a lower high right here. So this is your first low, right? So it's a basic market structure, right? You have your first low, you have your lower high, and then you have your higher high right here. So what we can do in a situation like this is, no, I don't want to use that. That's too funky. So there's two things that you can actually use right now, because we can kind of assume that point is going to be our low, our main low. You could set your new trend, which is probably going to start right here. You can set your second trend. I don't know if I want to use this top right here because it doesn't. Because it's not a low. I don't want to use that top to kind of do it. I mean, in this case, you can probably use a trend-based fib and see where you'll probably run from here. What I usually do is I use a trend on the trend-based fib. I set it on the low, right? Go to peak high, and I don't go down to trend. I actually go down all the way. I go all the way down to where that low is, right? To where that first initial low is, and I match it on the trend fib. So Forecast, I think this forecast is actually kind of high because you do have a weekly resistance here. But again, I do think from what I see, I do think Solana is more than likely going back to 133, and I am pretty, I don't want to say pretty bullish, but yes, I am. I want to say I am bullish on Solana right now, at least to 133. I mean, you can have another setup like this that happened here. So you actually have this, you actually have a bull trigger here on the daily. You ran up $62. Again, you had a bull trigger right here, right there, 21 days. Well, 69 bucks, 62, oh, $62, like right here. Boom, like $62. Yeah, I mean, if I had to take a quick guess, I'd say your next range for Solana is going to be somewhere in, where is this, in 21 days? I'd say somewhere between 133 and, 167, somewhere around this range. Definitely somewhere here within the next 20, 30 days or so, within the next month. I'd probably see Solana just go straight into this next range possibly, because it does look like it's going that way. And again, this looks like what can happen right now for solely if Bitcoin decides to dump to something stupid like if Bitcoin dumps to like 30K, right, in the next week or two, which is definitely possible because Bitcoin is going to be closing a bearish week today, unfortunately. And usually when that happens, you get an average drop of like $10,000. We're at what, like 40K right now. Would not be surprised if Bitcoin drops to like $30,000 within the next month or so, right? So as of right now, TA for Solana does look like it's going to go up to 133, 160 something range, right? Like around 160 plus. Would I take the trade right now? Sure. I mean, I would definitely trade this, and risk very little. So, I mean, if I were to do this, right, and just looking at the chart right now, I probably am going to end up taking the trade just because the risk is so small. I'd probably put my initial, I'd probably do this. I'd probably put it like 160 just to be on the safe side. We'll do like 161, doesn't really matter. And then we'll do our so you can do like a stop loss here right below previous, where there's like nice like support and stuff, right? But you have a 7.16 RR. So you're basically risking $1 to make $7, which is a really, really, really big risk reward ratio, right? So if you were to trade this, I'd probably have like a stop loss at $96.50. And then your first take profit, you'd probably have at like 133, which is this major resistance. And then you would probably leave runners to see if it actually hits at 160. But as soon as it hits, as soon as it crosses probably like 117 and then 124, you should probably adjust your stop loss above these previous highs right here on these little wicks right here, probably to like 110. That way, if it comes back and drops all the way back down here, you're not taking out in a loss. You're actually taking out in a profit, which is really good. And that's basically what I teach my Patreon members, right? That you never get out of a trade. You never just sell. You adjust your stop loss. That way, you instead of, if price is like up here somewhere, you adjust your stop loss to somewhere like right here at 118. That way, when it comes back down, you're taking out of the trade, but you're taking out of the trade at 118 in profit. It doesn't shoot all the way back down. You're not holding it till it hits like all the way back here, and then you end up taking a loss. Like that's not it. That's why, we're trying to get everybody in the Patreon used to not selling their trades. We're trying to get everybody to adjust their stop losses instead, because there's plenty of times where you buy, let's say here, and you're just holding and you never put a stop loss, and price goes all the way up to 160, drops all the way back down to 100. But guess what? If it drops, in the case of it dropping back to like $100, like if price goes up to 160, your stop loss should be adjusted to like 145, right? You see this peak high right here? You should adjust it to like 145. That way, if it comes down, it takes you out in profit right here. Or if it keeps running up, right, then you keep holding it, right? It'll push to 177. Cool. You adjust your stop loss to like 177, 178, right above major resistance or right below it. Again, if it keeps pushing to 250, right, you adjust your stop loss to like 220. You never sell out of a trade. You just adjust your stop loss. And I feel like a lot of people, don't really understand that. But yeah, I think Solana right now is at a really good point. I think entry right now is almost perfect. This is one of the very few cases where I would think that Solana has a very good chance at running to 133 and then possibly to 160. And at a 30% gain, possibly a 60% gain from here, this is a very good risk to reward ratio, right? So I mean, if this is something, I mean, again, not a financial advisor, not telling you where to put your money, but if I were to see this trade and I'm like, the risk here is extremely low, right? Especially if you have a stop loss, like this can possibly go up to 130, which it looks like TA says that it's going to go to 133, right? The TA forecast says it can possibly go to 160. There's a probability that it can go to 160, 166. So I think the risk to reward is extremely high, and I think that it would be a very smart move, especially if you like Solana, to maybe enter a position, maybe add more to your position, or possibly look into getting into Solana if there is no position, because the likelihood of it going to 133, 160 is kind of textbook TA right now, right? So it looks good. But again, if Bitcoin decides to dump to like 30K, 20K, all bets are off, because everything's going to follow Bitcoin and everything's going to more than likely follow it and crash with it. So I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.